Well, hello again, traveler. Welcome back to my humble shop. Come in and have a seat if you are so inclined. I see that you have also decided to spend a bit of time in this charming little market town. Oh, I've seen you here and there about the market, and a glimpse or two of you in my forays about the town. And I have heard you mentioned in passing a few times. Nothing horrible, never fear. Nothing remarkable, really. As I said, you were mentioned in passing only. Locals gossiping with locals and turning their attention to an outsider easily picked out of the crowd. Well, your particular style of garb does rather stand out among the locals. No bad thing, that. Yes, sit down if you would. That flat-topped box seat is conveniently placed as before. It seems to be about that time again. A bit of a slow period in the flow of market traffic, and a good time to pause for a drink and a session with the hookah. Fortunately, I had already begun on this activity just before your arrival, and so Gunther stands just against that table near to hand. He is nearly full, so be careful if you choose to drink. You will see that slim metal clip attached to his harness and the ring sticking out of the side of the table. Indeed, a drinking horn of such size needs all the help it can get in staying upright when full. Very often, I have Gunther hanging from his harness strap on that wall hook over there when he is not in my hand or clipped to that table. Now, tobacco has been changed, foil replaced. All that remains is to set the coals to firing on this fine gnomish brazier. Oh, that? Just a bit of magic, to spark the gases released by the brazier and make the fire for the coals. It's a dragon thing. Being a merchant is sometimes thirsty work, traveler. Spending hour after hour inside a large tent, sometimes shaded from the sun, sometimes not. I know that look. That is the look of curiosity. Will I tell you about the structure of the shop? It is not particularly unique, as such tents go. I purchased it from a clan of panther folk who live far to the east of here. They are renowned for their skills as makers of tents, and many of the merchants I have known will endure long travels to purchase such tents as the panther folk make. This particular one is the largest of the square designs that they produce. The roof canvas is white, the better to reflect the heat of the day, and also the best for reflecting internal lighting at night. The walls, which hang in panels from the edges of the roof canvas, are a sort of bland butterscotch color, against which the colorful tones of my leather goods stand out quite nicely. This central wooden pole holds up the bulk of the roof. The edges are supported by an array of wooden poles and anchored with ropes and heavy iron stakes. In windy, or in very rainy weather, I can also stake down the walls themselves, but usually that is not necessary. And the coals are ready. One moment. It's ready. That is good. Yes. Very good. I chose to have all the woodwork painted green for this newer tent. Some years ago I had a smaller tent with red poles, but I decided to change things about somewhat for the newer, larger structure. Oh yes, it is quite roomy, even with all these wares packed into it. It is about 20 feet of a side, and with a bit of prudent managing and a fair amount of luck, I can usually manage to fit it out as my own personal dwelling when attending these borderland town markets. And all of the parts are arranged such that I can set up the entire structure by myself in a couple of hours, and have my shop arranged and ready for business in a couple of more hours. Though, of course, with one or two assistants, this time can be cut in half. As you can see, back in this end of the tent, behind that table, I have my own portable wooden rope frame bed set up. It is raised on short wooden legs so that I may store many of my domestic items beneath it. The bed proper is merely a rectangle made of stout boards, interwoven with hundreds of feet of rope in a sort of net grid pattern. With some thick padded blankets and a number of sheep fleeces thrown onto it, it is quite comfortable. A few blankets to sleep under, and it is a small slice of paradise. I keep many of my boxes of household wares underneath the table near the bed. The cloth covers keep them concealed and help to maintain a more professional mercantile appearance. A few of them, however, were built with an eye to multiple uses, including the chest you are currently seated on. One of them has even been built with special insulated materials to contain ice for keeping foodstuffs fresh for much longer than usual. And then there is my portable workshop, a few boxes of tools and supplies, and the small work table next to the bed. Also, there is a larger version of the gnomish brazier that I use on colder nights to keep the shop dry and toasty. I have been to towns where the heat alone draws folk in from the main row just to enjoy the warmth. And for keeping the shop open during the evening hours and later, some very cleverly designed fairy lights, which are aided by their reflection from the white cloth of the ceiling. I keep a few layers of floor cloths and rugs scattered about to soften the ground underfoot for my customers, a bit of cushioning for those whose feet may be tired from plodding through the marketplace all day. It may prove a bit dusty at times, but I have often held informal social gatherings in here as well, when some 8 or 9 persons were lounging about on the floor, on stools they'd brought with them, even on some of my chests. And there have been some nights, mostly very cold ones, when I have had friends and guests packed in here like sheep in a pen, all sharing their blankets and glad of the warmth of the place. And over it all, I preside in this rather plain-looking wooden chair. It is of my own making, yes. I find I do not have quite the skill for woodworking as some others, but this chair suffices for my needs currently. Really, it is just 2 long, wide boards, the back having a pair of slots cut in the sides, and the seat having a pair of long legs that slide into the slots and support the back of the chair. It slides apart quite easily, and indeed I tend to disassemble it before turning in for the night. I'm less likely to stumble over it in the night that way. though usually I have a couple of small red fairy lamps that stay lit all night, just in case. I also have some small bits of cookware that works on the smaller brazier, in case I am inspired to do for myself while at market. Usually I prefer to frequent the food vendors, when there are any. But in the mornings, when I must have my rejuvenating brews and such, and of course when I am traveling between market towns, I do much of my own cooking. When I am part of a merchant caravan, I do what I can to help out any communal cooking efforts. And speaking of cooking and food, it is getting near to that time of day when I make a short foray into the wilds of the marketplace and pester the chefs at their food stall. If you wish, you may join me for this adventure, and I will purchase a meal for the both of us. And while we eat, we can sit in my shop and watch the flow of the crowd.